Okay, so got these I guess on Friday. This is Monday, and both of them just needed a carburetor cleaned. This one had gas and it was just ancient and had water in it, but they both need cleaned. And that's got a plastic carb, this got a metal carb. Cleaned them up. This one had a broken air filter housing, so I went and replaced that, got that on. They both start up, one pull now. So this is all from one customer here. And then the only thing I'm waiting for now is to get this one up and running. That's his also. The pull rope is broke. Well, actually the housing is broke. There's a pin that goes in that holds this down, or a clamp, and there's not enough material to hold it down right here. So just bought a new one of those. I think that was, I don't know, 35 bucks or so. Now, as far as money goes, what we've kind of decided is, well, first of all, the ultrasonic cleaner is going to make us a ton of money. And able to clean both of these with the ultrasonic cleaner. And so instead of buying a carburetor and making X amount of dollars, I can clean them and make the same amount of dollars. So I'm doubling my money is what I'm doing by having the ultrasonic cleaner. And I'm trying to reuse the formula, the cleaning material, reuse it over and over again as much as possible. I keep straining it through a wet wipe or coffee filter or whatever. We don't use coffee filter, so wet wipes is working pretty good. So, because if I had to add more of the cleaner in every time, it costs a lot of money to clean them. But so the problem with the weed eaters is we've talked about raising our prices, hourly wage, and I think we're going to. I think we're going to do what, $15 more. We talked about 10, but all my research has indicated I could easily do $15 more than what I was, and we'd still be below national average or even area average. So I think we're okay. I got my name established a little bit now in town. And the thing is, when people ask me how much do I charge, I don't tell them how much I charge. What I do is I say, hey, bring it on over. I'll take a look at it, and I can do a diagnostic for free. Now, a lot of people in the comment section says you shouldn't do that. You should always charge for diagnostics. But I feel like I make more money this way. I mean, there's occasions where I lose. I'll spend half hour on something trying to figure out what's wrong with it and realize, no, there's too much wrong with it, and tell them, it's not worth fixing. Sometimes I lose. But the majority of the time, I win. Think about this. Let's say I tell them how much I charge. They say, oh, no, that's too much. And they never bring it over. But if I say, hey, I'll take a look at it, give you a free diagnostic, and I'll let you know what it's going to cost to repair it, they're more inclined to give me the work. They're more inclined to say, oh, yeah, just go ahead and fix it because it's already here. Instead of going around, shopping around, picking it back up. And of course, they may think that I'm going to charge them a diagnostic fee, because they're not giving me the work. Back to what I was saying is the weed eater, we can't charge that much. We're going to have to keep our prices the way we had them last year, or this year, I should say, because you can replace that weed eater pretty cheaply. Let's say the weed eater is 125 bucks, and I put labor into it, and I've got a new housing just for a pull rope, and let's say I come up to about 90 bucks, which is not unreasonable to work on something. But if you can buy a new one for 125, why not just get a new one? So I'm going to keep my prices low on that. The thing is here's the way I look at it, is most of the time when you work on weed eaters, chainsaws, it's either an ignition coil or it's a carburetor. If you get into compression issues, then it's not even worth working on. So you just tell them it's not worth working on. It's got a scored piston, and it's just cheaper to go get a new one. But if it's carburetor or ignition coil, I can do that in a half hour. Of course, I charge a full hour. So let's say I got two of them sitting there, and they both need a new carburetor. I can do both of them in an hour and still make a good, quantity of money. Well, actually, we'll make more than what I've raised my prices to. So I don't see it as a terrible thing to leave my prices on there. They're just so easy to work on for those two issues that usually come up. Sometimes you get an issue like this where it takes a little bit more time, but they're far and few in between. But the one thing I want to stress is I never try to jump into something that I don't know how to do, or I haven't tried before. I want to say that I have experience at doing this before I just tell the customer, yeah, I'll do it. If it's beyond my scope, for example, I will not take any ATVs. I don't take golf carts, tractors, log splitters. I'll take if it's engine work, but I stay away from the hydraulics, and I tell them that. So I just want to stick with what I know. And I've said this before, I just feel like that if you're going to work for a customer, you better know what you're doing. And the other thing I always worry about is safety. I want to make sure that when the customer receives their mower back, that it's safe, that they can store it in their garage without worrying about it burning down the garage. Or that when they hit the brakes are going to stop them. Or that the safety switches that they are using work. A lot of people disconnect that seat safety switch. I don't reattach it, and I'm not required to reattach it as a mechanic, but if the handbrakes were working and all of a sudden, on the zero turns or the pedal brake, safety switch wasn't working, I make sure those are working. And if I work on safety switches and they've disconnected the seat switch, I'll go ahead and reconnect that seat switch. That way all the switches are working. So, it's all safety, and I've talked about this before about the people on Facebook. They get on there and say, I've got a customer and I've never seen one of these before. Okay, well, then you don't have a customer, because you already have told them, oh, no, I can't work on that. I've never seen one of these. That's beyond me. So there was a guy on yesterday, or day before yesterday, I don't know, sometime over the weekend. It says it was an older model, John Deere. And he says, I don't know where the ignition coil is. Can somebody help me find it? Well, it doesn't have an ignition coil. It had the old style system. It had the coils and the condenser and all those, like 3 different components. So I got on there and I said, why are you working on this? I'm confused. Why are you working on this? You don't know how to work on it. And the thing is it's what's interesting is you'll get 50 thumbs up, kind of what I assume is agreeing with me that, yeah, they shouldn't be working on this for a customer. Now, if it was their equipment or they were flipping something, to resell, I don't have a problem with that. If they're working on their buddy's equipment, don't have a problem with that. I'm all good with them, learning things. That's great. I have no problems with that. But you can't be working on customers' equipment while you're learning. It's just unsafe. So I point it out every time. And sure enough, you'll get 2 or 3 people who will respond, well, you can't know everything about everything. And I agree, you can't know everything about everything. And you're always learning. If I were to take in an ATV today, I would be learning on how to work it. So I won't take them. Now, if someone gave me one that wasn't running, yeah, I'll be all over that. I'll be working on it, trying to figure it out, learning how to order parts, where to go, all that stuff. And I'd be on there asking questions about how to fix it. But not as a professional working on something. It's unsafe. So he says, where's the ignition coil? And people are like, oh, it's underneath that thing you got covered up here on there. It's not an ignition coil. no, I replied, you need to tell the customer you can't work on that. And the response from two of them was, you can't know everything about everything. Well, I even Googled it. Why did they give that response? And it is because they don't know how to work on it. And they feel like I'm attacking them by telling them the truth, that they shouldn't be working on it. They know they shouldn't be working on it. They know it. And this is what Google's AI said. They know they shouldn't be working on it, but they are. And so instead of just saying, you know, you're right, I probably should just turn this job down, they're going to attack me as being the mean monster for pointing out the truth, that they shouldn't be working on it. I told you about this YouTuber. He's got a real small channel. And he constantly gets on there talking about the things he's working on. And he has no idea what he's doing. None. He asks his audience, what should I do? And so 2 videos in a row now. 2. He doesn't make videos very often. But the 2 videos he made recently, the 2 latest videos. The first one was he changed out the carburetor and tried to start it, wouldn't start, and he got on the phone with one of his buddies. And the buddy said, did you check compression? You know, that's a good idea, I'll check compression. So he goes out and checks compression. Well, the compression was shot. So he charged the customer for the new carburetor, even though it was not fixable. The compression was shot. So the customer had to pay, what, 30 or 40 bucks for a new carburetor, and still did not have a running machine. And now he has to go out and get a new machine. So fast forward a few weeks later, and he's back on YouTube, and I don't even remember what he was working on, but he's checked a fuel, and he's checked spark, and it's all good, and he can't figure out what's going on. He said, I got on the phone with one of my buddies, and he said, well, did you check compression? You know, that's a good idea, I'll check compression. And sure enough, didn't have any compression. Oh, are you serious? You didn't learn from the first time your buddy said, look at compression? There are 3 things, well, actually 4 on modern day equipment, but 3 things primarily that you need to look for. Spark, well, fuel, spark, and compression. The last one would be timing, because now with the new ignition coils, you know, since they invented those, your flywheel has to be correct. So if you got the woodwork key broke and your flywheel has shifted a little bit, you won't get spark at the right time. He seems to be missing one of the 3 components of a proper diagnostic. And there was another YouTuber, and he's a good sized one. I mean, he's not like the biggest or anything, but he's a good sized one. He's really competent. I don't want to criticize him at all. But it is strange to me that he was working on a Honda generator, and he replaced the rope, the pull rope, and he tried to start it, and wouldn't start. Well, I figured it's a fuel problem. And I agreed it was a fuel problem. So he takes the carburetor off and cleans it. And I'm like, man, it seems like a mistake to me. You should check the fuel first. Anytime I go through a diagnostic process, I go through steps. The first thing I always do is, well, I always spray it with starting fluid. It sees if it will pop off. If it pops off, well, then the very next thing I will do, before I even touch the carburetor, is I remove the fuel line and check the gas to see if it's got water in it. I mean, it's a real simple fix, and you get paid your full hour wage just to do that. I mean, it's such a simple fix. But he cleans the carburetor, puts it back on, and it won't start. And he spends a good amount of time off camera trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Taking the carburetor off, looking at it, doing different things. And then he realizes, oh, there's water in the gas. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, he's very competent, and he probably just made a mistake. But I don't understand how you'd be working on lawnmowers for any length of time, and you don't get into a process of identifying things. And I know this guy. I mean, he's got, a few hundred videos, so he's worked on some stuff. He's ran into water and gasoline before. It's not the first time. So, they just go through a checklist. But you got these people on here, they don't know where the ignition coil is on a 1980-something lawnmower when they don't have ignition coils. That's why you can't find it. It's not there. I get so frustrated with these people. And it gives mechanics a bad name. I say that all the time. Not only are you risking the safety of your customer, you're risking everybody else's mechanic shop. So if you'll click this up next box, take the video over to my other channel. Really appreciate it. Go check it out. So if I can inspire you to be competent before you take customers, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.